Let me be very clear about something right now. What Bronson Reed just did to Bron Breakker backstage on Monday Night Raw was not a wrestling move. It was not a receipt. It was not a message. It was a mauling. And the fact that we are sitting here, in 2026, watching a man who was supposed to be Breaker's brother-in-arms, a man who stood side by side with him inside the Vision, just completely destroy him like he was nothing, like he was prey, tells you everything you need to know about how absolutely volatile this situation has become. Bron Breakker, the most physically dominant human being on the Raw roster right now, was found laid out backstage. Not in the ring. Not in a match. Backstage. Where the cameras caught everything. Where there were no referees, no rules, no escape. And the man responsible? Bronson Reed, the Auxilla, standing over him, looking down at him, not even breathing hard. If you think you know where this story is going, I promise you do not. Stay right here, because by the end of this video, your jaw is going to be on the floor. And you're going to be in the comments telling me whether Bron Breakker had this coming or whether Bronson Reed just made the biggest mistake of his career. Let's get into it. Segment 1, setting the scene. The Vision is falling apart. To truly understand the magnitude of what happened on Raw, we need to rewind the clock, because this didn't come out of nowhere. There have been cracks in the Vision for months, and people who weren't paying close enough attention completely missed them. Cast your mind back to October of last year. Crown Jewel, Perth, Australia, Bronson Reed's home country. The Vision was supposed to be at the absolute peak of its power. Seth Rollins had just won the Crown Jewel Championship, the faction was dominating Monday Night Raw, and Paul Heyman was pulling strings like the genius puppet master that he is. And then, in one of the most shocking moments of the entire year, Bron Breakker turned on Seth Rollins, speared him right in the chest, and Bronson Reed followed it up with a tsunami off the top rope that shook the entire arena. The Vision was reborn. Breakker and Reed were now at the top. Heyman, ever the opportunist, raised both their hands in celebration, choosing power over loyalty without even blinking. It was electric. It was ruthless. It was everything the Vision was built to be. But here's what almost nobody was talking about in the aftermath, and this is the detail that changes everything when you look back at it now. Reed's tsunami? He only hit it once. That's not the Bronson Reed we know. When Reed wants to punish someone, when he truly wants to make a statement, he climbs the top rope over and over and over again. 6 tsunamis. 8 tsunamis. He did it to Seth Rollins himself back in August of 2024 when he attacked him on Raw. He rains down splash after splash until the message is undeniable. But on Rollins at Crown Jewel? Just one. And then Bronson Reed stepped back. Almost like he wasn't fully sold on what he was doing. Almost like he was choosing survival over conviction. While Breakker grabbed the World Heavyweight Championship and posed for the crowd, Reed stood just off to the side. Present. Aligned. But not celebrating. Not reveling in it the way Breakker was. That image, Breakker front and center, Reed just slightly behind, that became the blueprint for everything that followed. And nobody warned us. Nobody told us that this was a ticking time bomb dressed up as a dominant faction. Segment 2, the injuries that exposed everything. Fast forward to early 2026, and the Vision starts to hemorrhage members left and right. First, it's Bron Breakker suffering a serious hernia injury after absolutely losing his mind at ringside in one of the most unhinged displays of rage we've seen on Raw in years. He flips the commentary desk over, he gets suspended by Adam Pearce, and then the word comes down: surgery. He's out. And in the weeks before that, Seth Rollins, the Visionary himself, is already on the shelf with a torn rotator cuff, recovering from surgery of his own after what Breakker and Reed did to him at Crown Jewel. So now the Vision is limping. Heyman has Logan Paul and Austin Theory, but let's be honest with each other, with all due respect to those two men, that is not the same as having Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed in your corner. The muscle is gone. The fear factor has evaporated. And then, as if the universe itself decided to kick the Vision while it was down, Bronson Reed suffers a torn bicep on the February 23rd edition of Raw during a triple threat match. He goes down while breaking up a pin, rolls out to ringside, and that's it. Surgery. Out indefinitely. Now the Vision, this powerful, dominant faction that was supposed to be the most dangerous force in WWE, is down to a Hall of Fame manager, a social media influencer, and a guy named Austin Theory. But here's where it gets interesting. Because while Breakker and Reed are both on the shelf, the power dynamic within the Vision shifts. The hierarchy gets murky. And when two alpha dogs are both fighting to come back, both racing to return before WrestleMania, and only one of them can truly be the guy when this faction gets back to full strength, tension doesn't just build, it ignites. Segment 3, the backstage attack. What really happened? Now, let's talk about Raw. Let's talk about the moment that has everybody losing their minds. The cameras catch it backstage, and I want you to picture this scene because it is brutal. Bronson Reed, a 300-plus-pound human wrecking ball, finds Bron Breakker in the back. The two men who were supposed to be the twin pillars of the Vision. The two monsters who dismantled Seth Rollins together. The two names that made everyone on the Raw roster look over their shoulder for the past several months. And Reed doesn't ask for a conversation. He doesn't talk. He doesn't give Breakker a chance to even register what's happening. Reed just explodes. He drives into Breakker with the force of a freight train, slamming him into whatever surface is behind him, the wall, the production equipment, it doesn't matter, and Breakker goes down. And Reed doesn't stop. He doesn't step back and let Breakker get up and make it fair. He stays on him. This is not a pro wrestling match with comebacks and hope spots and crowd reactions. This is a beating. This is one man unleashing months, maybe years of simmering resentment on another man who had no idea it was coming. By the time anyone backstage could even react, by the time production staff and referees started rushing toward the scene, the damage was already done. Bron Breakker, the so-called next-generational monster of Monday Night Raw, was left on the ground. Not moving, not posturing, not smirking, down. And Bronson Reed walks away. Doesn't even look back. That is a statement. Segment 4, why did Reed do it? The real reason. Now this is the part of the conversation I know you came here for. Because there are a lot of people right now who are watching clips of this attack and saying, wow, this came out of nowhere. And I need to respectfully disagree with every single one of those people, because this did not come out of nowhere. Let's talk about the real reason Bronson Reed did this. Theory number 1, the spotlight. From the moment Breakker and Reed turned on Rollins at Crown Jewel, whose name was being said more? Whose face was on more promotional material? Who was being positioned as the guy in the vision now that Rollins was gone? Bron Breakker. Every segment, every promo, every backstage piece, Breakker was front and center. Heyman was managing both of them, but let's be real, Heyman's energy, his attention, his creative investment, it was going toward Breakker. Reed was muscle. Reed was the enforcer. Reed was the threat that stood behind the star. But Bronson Reed is not a supporting character. He is not a henchman. He is a former king of the ring competitor, a man who beat Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel on his home soil, a man who when given the ball has proven he can carry the show. Being used as a background monster while Breakker soaked up the glory? That eats at a man. Quietly, slowly, and then all at once. Theory number 2, the trust was already broken. Think about this, Reed and Breakker both went into the Royal Rumble earlier this year, and neither of them came out of it with momentum. Reed got eliminated by a returning LA Knight. Breakker's night was a disaster. Instead of coming out of the Rumble as a united front, it exposed fractures. It exposed that individually, without the support of the faction, both men had vulnerabilities. And when two proud, competitive, dangerous men start seeing each other's vulnerabilities, the alliance doesn't hold. It starts to look like a liability. Theory number 3, Heyman chose Breakker over Reed. Here's the one that I think most people haven't sat with long enough. Paul Heyman, the Oracle, the greatest managerial mind in the history of this industry, had to make a choice when both of his guys got injured. He had to decide who he was going to publicly rally behind, who he was going to position as the future. And based on everything we've seen over the last few weeks, the choice was Breakker. Heyman is already scheming for the post-injury landscape. He's thinking about WrestleMania. He's thinking about who carries the vision forward. And when Reed was on the shelf, nursing his torn bicep, watching Heyman continue to orbit around Breakker's recovery, something snapped. Because Bronson Reed didn't need Bron Breakker to become relevant. He needed Bron Breakker to stay out of his way. And the moment he realized Breakker wasn't going to do that, the moment he understood that in Heyman's vision for the vision, he was always going to be second, the Ozilla decided to write his own story. With his fists. In a hallway. On Raw. Segment 5, what this means for the vision and WWE. Let's zoom out now and talk about the landscape. Because this backstage attack doesn't just affect two men. It sends shockwaves through the entire Raw brand. The vision is effectively dead. You cannot have a stable when the two most physically imposing members are trying to destroy each other. Heyman can spin this however he wants, and believe me, Paul Heyman will try to spin this, but there is no version of this where Reed and Breakker end up on the same side again. Not after what we just watched. Not after that kind of public, personal, visceral destruction. What does this mean for Breakker's WrestleMania plans? He was already racing against the clock with the hernia recovery, reportedly pushing himself incredibly hard to get back in time for the show of shows. A brutal backstage attack does not help that timeline. Depending on how badly Reed hurt him, we may be looking at Breakker missing WrestleMania 42 entirely. And if that happens? If Bron Breakker, the man who was being groomed as the next face of Raw, misses WrestleMania because of Bronson Reed? The heat on Reed is going to be molten. We're talking about a level of heat that can either make a career or end one. Meanwhile, Reed himself is coming off a torn bicep surgery. Is he even cleared to be doing this? How healthy is he? And is attacking Breakker part of a calculated plan, or is this the action of a man who has reached his absolute breaking point and simply doesn't care about consequences anymore? Either answer is terrifying. Either answer is compelling television. Segment 6, what happens next? So where does this go from here? Let me give you my take, and then I want you to tell me yours down in the comments. Reed versus Breakker is inevitable now. This isn't something that gets resolved in a promo or a sit-down with Adam Pearce. This gets resolved in a ring, with a referee, and ideally with no disqualification because these two men need to hurt each other properly. The question is when. And the question is at what cost. If Breakker is healthy enough to make it back for WrestleMania 42, I think WWE has the kind of dream match on their hands that they would be absolutely criminal to waste. Reed vs. Breakker, monster vs. monster, former allies turned enemies, with months of genuine backstage tension and this brutal attack as the catalyst? That is a WrestleMania moment in waiting. And think about what's at stake for each man. For Breakker, this is about revenge. It's about proving that he is not someone who gets ambushed and laid out and simply accepts it. His entire identity is built around being the most dangerous man in any room. Reed challenged that identity in the most personal way possible. For Reed, this is about validation. He spent months as the second name in a two-man team, the exclamation point to Breakker's sentence. This attack is him screaming to the entire WWE universe that he refuses to be anyone's afterthought. He is the guy. He wants everyone to know it. Two men. Two massive chips on two massive shoulders. A backstage hallway that became a battlefield. And we're all just standing here watching it unfold. Closing call to action. Here's what I need from you right now. In the comments below, tell me who you think was more in the wrong here. Was Bronson Reed justified in what he did? Has he been disrespected and overlooked inside the vision long enough that this attack was inevitable? Or did he just betray a man who trusted him, and does he deserve everything that's coming to him when Bron Breakker recovers and comes looking for payback? I genuinely want to know where you stand. Drop it down below. And if you're new here, welcome to Ring Rumble 1. We break down WWE like this every single week. Raw, SmackDown, every premium live event, every backstage rumor that matters, we cover it all. Hit that subscribe button right now because the next few weeks leading into WrestleMania are going to be absolutely insane, and you do not want to miss a single second of the breakdown. Like this video if Reed vs. Breakker needs to happen at